Hey guys, John V from PhoneArena here. You're watching our video review of the Apple iPhone 6. So this year, Apple introduced two new iPhones. You have the iPhone 6 Plus, which is its phablet device, and then you have this one here, the iPhone 6, which is more of that flagship phone, just because it features a 4.7-inch display, and it's also priced at $200 with a 2-year contract. So both of those qualities right away indicate that it's more of a mainstream thing. So it's competing in a very competitive market right now. So we're kind of intrigued how this brand new redesigned iPhone is going to contend. What's most apparent about the new redesign, the iPhone 6, is that it has a larger footprint than the previous iPhone 5S. Now, at first glance, it looks like a beefier handset, but honestly, when you hold it in the hands, the iPhone 6 is still pretty comfortable. We don't find it to be too wide to hold. Now, the iPhone 6 continues to be one very attractive looking smartphone. That's because it still exhibits all the qualities we've seen in the series. So you get premium choice materials. It's made of brushed aluminum material, which gives it a very sturdy finish. On top of that, this time around, the edges of the phone are more rounded as opposed to the flatter, chamfered, beveled edges of the iPhone 5S. So it really hugs our hand a lot better. For the most part, the iPhone 6 has a very uniform, clean design, but it's kind of broken up, a little bit distracting with these very thick antenna lines that surround the top and bottom edges of the iPhone. There's one handset that's consistently at the top when it comes to smartphone designs. It's the iPhone, and the iPhone 6 is a testament to that, just because, like its predecessors, it still has all the qualities we'd expect from the line. You have that premium choice of materials, you have that sturdy construction, razor-thin profile, and it's still very attractive, even though it reminds us of an HTC One M8. There are a few minor tweaks done to the design of the iPhone 6. For starters, the power button is now placed on the right edge, which is a lot more appropriate than the top, just because we have easier access to it from here. Both the mute switch and the volume controls are still located on the left side of the phone, but the volume controls are now elongated in size to fit the skinny profile of the handset. Other iPhone staples are present here. You have the Lightning docking port, the 3.5mm headset jack, microphone, and a speaker. We also have its home button, which is recessed and incorporates the biometric Touch ID sensor, which still offers the best implementation on a phone. And finally, we have its brand new updated 8-megapixel iSight camera, which has a new 5-element f2.2 aperture lens. However, we're not really fans of how the lens sticks out from the surrounding surface, so when you place it on its back, it comes into contact with the surface. So the handset is treated to a larger Retina display, a 4.7-inch 750 by 1334 IPS LCD panel to be exact, which gives it a pixel density count of 326 pixels per inch. And that, folks, is something that Apple classifies as being a Retina display. Details are naturally good, but nothing extraordinary. In the back of our minds, though, we were hoping to see something a little bit higher in resolution, just to match some of those Quad HD packing smartphones. Despite that, we'll give Apple credit where credit is due, because the iPhone 6's display is high quality. It's not cheap and really shows just because of its potent brightness output of over 600 nits, making it more than visible outdoors even with the sun present. And on top of that, it's probably one of the more accurate panels in reproducing colors, and view angles are again top notch. So all those elements give it a high quality finish. Last year, iOS saw the biggest overhaul with iOS 7. We saw a lot of changes to the visual department as well as the feature side, but this year with iOS 8 running here in the iPhone 6, it's less about the visual changes and more about the feature set. It's trying to diversify its portfolio to contend against some of the other notable smartphone platforms. We're not going to go into every minute detail about what's new with the platform, but we'll quickly talk about some of the notable ones. At its core, though, iOS 8 is just more refined. It has a more comprehensive feature set, which gives it almost to the same level as Android, and at the same time, it's still a fairly simple, intuitive experience. First, let's talk about Notification Center, which is now condensed to only 2 tabs, Today Notifications. We also see added support for third-party widgets here with iOS 8, and even though we appreciate that, the single-column view of the Notification Center just makes it too cramped to use them effectively. And with the notification side, it's nice that it aggregates all our notifications in one centralized place, but still missing a clear all function. Spotlight search has also been enhanced just because in addition to the local content, it provides us with more recommendations and suggestions in other different areas. So it'll search for content on iTunes and even things like Wikipedia. There's an always on function with Siri, so all you gotta do is just say the key phrase, "Hey Siri," and automatically will launch the service for you. It's a really nice and easy way to jump right into the service, but it's only available when you have it plugged into a charging source. The multitasking system is still unchanged, so basically it's more of a task switching than true multitasking, but we now have this option to select a recent contact from the top here, where we can make a phone call or send them a text message. The larger screen of the iPhone 6 helps in typing up messages, but we see some changes here to the keyboard. Still the same layout, but has this new quick type feature, which is basically an enhanced text prediction service they offer, and it's pretty useful. But the best thing about it is that the keyboard, the platform now has support for third-party keyboards. So if you're interested in using some other things like SwiftKey, you could get that as well. There are several phones out there that have quad-core and even octa-core processors, but the iPhone 6 here is powered by a dual-core 1.4 GHz Apple A8 processor with only 1 GB RAM and has also a new M8 Motion co-processor. Now, on paper, it might not sound too threatening compared to some of the other processors out there, but don't let that fool you because this is one snappy and responsive phone, one of the fastest out there, and it's also excellent for playing games. The most notable change here with the web browsing experience is just the larger size of the iPhone 6's display. At 4.7, it's more ideal and spacious, so you get a lot of visibility on a page at one time. The look of the camera app is pretty much the same from before. We could quickly switch between the various modes here. You have a panoramic, you have a square one, you have your standard photo, video, a new slow motion one which has 240 frames per second capture or 120, and you also have a new time-lapse feature, so you can get you capture a long period of time and have it condensed to a shorter one. But for the most part, it's still a relatively simple and easy to use interface. The majority of the real estate here is reserved for the viewfinder, and the sides here you have options for things like HDR, the front-facing camera, setting the flash, and you also now have a timer. So let's talk about the camera again here in the iPhone 6. It still sizes up at 8 megapixels, the same as the iPhone 5S, but it packs along a new 5-element f2.2 aperture lens, which has also a backside illuminated sensor, a True Tone dual LED flash, and up to 1080p video recording. The camera's quality is excellent. You're going to get a lot of really nice things with it. A lot of sharp looking details, good exposure, and very punchy looking colors, but quite frankly, when compared to the results with the iPhone 5S, when it comes to outdoor scenery shots, we don't notice anything different between the two. Where we do see the biggest difference is in its low lighting performance. This time around, there's less noise with the photos, whereas before, it's something that was proven to be a lot more distracting than anything else. And at the same time, we do notice that the photos tend to come out a little bit sharper looking. The handset's 1080p video recording quality is also excellent. You're going to get a really nice balance. You have moderate exposure, it's not too sensitive. You have really sharp looking details, nice colors, and does feature digital image stabilization, which works pretty well in keeping things nice and smooth. On top of that, this year's camera also features continuous autofocus, which is pretty quick at adapting, and the audio recording has also been improved. It's more robust this time around. The music player is unchanged, so the visuals and the functionality are identical this time around. They've improved the audio quality of the speaker just because it now emits a maximum volume output of 74.5 decibels, which beats out the iPhone 5S's mark of only 74 decibels, so it's pretty powerful and potent and doesn't have any crackling to it. Thanks to its larger display, the iPhone 6 is now more ideal when it comes to watching videos, and of course it always impresses with its really bright output and lively looking colors. The only thing that we wish was that there's a little bit more of an enhanced experience when it comes to multitasking, similar to what we see with other customized Android experiences where we could be watching a movie and doing something else at the same time. Its call quality performance hasn't been improved, so it's pretty excellent just because voices on both ends of the line are pretty clear and audible. There's minimal background noise to muddy things up. The only blemish that we see is just with its speakerphone, where it exhibits just a tiny amount of distortion. The single most disappointing part about the iPhone 6 is its battery life. It's just not as good as its contemporaries. We're able to get by through a solid day of normal usage with it, but it's just not as long-lasting compared to what else is out there. In our battery benchmark test, it achieves a tally of only 5 hours 2 minutes, which is okay, but it's not as close to the over 7-hour marks that we've seen put out by other devices like the Galaxy S5 and the Sony Xperia Z2. There's a good reason why the iPhone is so popular. It looks good and it just works so well, and those are two qualities right away that we have here with the iPhone 6 again. At $200 with a 2-year contract, you're getting a fair amount of value considering its premium construction, its excellent performance in a wide array of areas, and of course the simple, intuitive iOS 8 experience it has. So there are basically two things that disappoint us about the iPhone 6. The first being its battery life. It's just not as long lasting as we'd like. And the second one pertains to its Retina display. It's still sharp and detailed, but considering that most of the $200 contract phones are at least 1080p resolution, we're hoping to see this one match that, but it's a little bit less. I feel as though there are two main reasons that make the iPhone 6 so compelling. The first being its design. It's just beautiful, it's gorgeous, and just solidly made. And when you think about some of its competitors priced at around $200 for the 2-year contract, they don't quite match the same level as the iPhone. Very few phones do that. The second reason that makes it so compelling is its simple and intuitive experience. iOS 8 might not be as feature-filled compared to Android, but at the end of the day, when you look at it from the surface, it gets the job done, especially if you're new to the smartphone space. You want something that's going to be relatively easy to learn. You're going to get that with iOS 8 and the iPhone 6. The two just go hand in hand together to give you a very straightforward experience. So if you guys want to learn more about the iPhone 6, you can check out our website, PhoneArena.com. It's John V. Thanks for watching.